All right. We are a couple people. I know a couple people are already here.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Lori. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm here with Go West. So
okay.
If you have any questions, you just let me know.
Okay. Have you seen Melanie and Magna log in yet?
I have not.
Okay. So as they log in, we'll just want to give them video and audio access.
I'm going to make sure I can take myself off of here. Have you worked in the Hopin platform before?
No, but I did get, Rafi gave us a good overview last week on how to use it. I like the polling. We're not going to use it today. We're not going to use the polling functionality, but I like it. I like it as an event platform. It seems like the event's going really well.
Yeah, it really is. It's fantastic. All right.
I'm going to move this light because for some reason my video on this platform is taking in more real estate than typical.
Zoom. I love the painting behind. Great. It's a great virtual, well, not virtual.
Thank you. Thank you. It's actually a painting my daughter and I did together.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. I'm going to hop out of here and I will be back. I'll be here in the room with you. I just won't be on screen with you. Okay.
Okay. So we're watching for Magna Hadley and Melanie Frank, who are the two panelists for our session. There's Magna coming right now. Hi, Magna. Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can, but I can only see the very top of your head.
Oh.
I see her full screen.
You see everything? Okay.
Scroll down a little bit, Melissa, maybe. I think.
Let me push back a little. Is this better?
That's great, Magna.
Okay. All right. That's good. You know, yesterday my camera was freezing. I don't know. I was listening to many of the sessions yesterday, and it was stalling. I sent the support area for some help, but I think we're connected a different way now, right? Because I hope we don't run into any problems too.
I know yesterday, I think there's been some problems actually.
Yeah, there was like 800 and something people on, which was very good too.
Yeah.
Wait, what were the issues you encountered?
Excuse me?
What was the issue you encountered?
It was freezing. The frame, you know, the camera, the freezing. Now it worked better on my phone and on my iPad than my laptop. And I don't know, I switched to a data card that's just, you know, that was the only item on it, but for some reason it was horrible. I don't know. So I actually listened a lot on the my iPhone was excellent. The picture and everything too. And I'm on a Surface. So, you know, it should be, you know, it's up technology too. So I found it strange.
Hi, Melanie.
Hello.
Melanie's giving us her whole living room or office or whatever.
Great. It's a great space. And Lori, did you say you were dropping off the video as well?
I am going to drop off right now, unless anybody has any last minute questions.
No. So when others are speaking, we should mute the little symbol below, or to?
I don't think you're going to need to. I don't think you'll need to, unless you know there's a dog barking or you have to.
Okay.
Something. You're kind of your own audio engineer. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Lori, if we do have a dog barking or something like that, I think we have to give permission, right? As people are coming in, we have to give permission for them to have audio. Is that accurate?
Yeah, but I don't think that's part of the. You don't need to be giving any.
Right. I wasn't planning on it, but if we do have any problems, you'll handle it in terms of noise in the background.
Yes, or just ask questions if you need anything.
You know, Melissa, too. Your voice was like every other word. I'm not sure if you're experiencing the same. Like there was like a pause in between, static,
really?
Like. Yeah.
I think part of it is my computer is whirring right now.
Okay. Well, that's why I know when I have conference meetings, whatever, I usually mute folks, or it's just streaming, taking a lot, and depending on how many people enter the session too, it could become a
Well, and
problem.
the as people are entering the session, only the panel will actually have audio live,
Okay,
or at least that's what the event staff shared with me last week when we did a run through. So that should help.
okay, that would be great.
Then. And so I can see people starting to join. So why don't we give it 3 minutes, and then we will kick off the conversation. Have you been able to get in to listen to any of the other sessions yesterday or today? Oh, Magna, we lost you. Now you're on mute.
No, the one before, yeah. But yesterday I was on. I listened to everything except the closing, unfortunately, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but a good session. Senator Raimondo, I think the same theme they're going to be hearing, because some of the speakers, I think Karen interviewed her, and even what Magic said yesterday too, right? Regarding some of it too. The same theme is going to be coming out in some of the recommendations, or some of the advice too. So. But I think what Secretary Ramon is doing on the commerce side is really some good activities. I don't know how much participating or different things. How WBC, I'm assuming, is very active in that too. But it would be great.
Partnering.
Yeah, partnering.
Sure. And I want to just say welcome to those of you who are joining this breakout session. We're going to start here in about 1 minute. We're going to give a chance for people to switch over from the main stage and from some great conversation with male allies. So give us 1 minute and we'll get kicked off. Why don't you go ahead in the chat? Just introduce yourself. Where are you calling in from? We'd love to hear where people are physically located as we get ready to start our conversation on accelerating and retaining women in technology here in about 1 minute. GM in Mexico. Got Virginia from Des Moines, Iowa with IBM. Another IBMer. Welcome to all of the members of IBM who are here. CBRE in Dallas, Texas. From London and Capital One, Greensboro, North Carolina. Louisville, Kentucky. I am in Louisville, Kentucky as well. So hello to my fellow Louisville Kentuckian. Delaware, Richmond, Virginia is you, Melanie. Awesome. I was going to say, hey, Melanie is from Richmond, Virginia. And then I saw your name, Detroit, Dallas, Texas, patent attorney. Welcome. Okay. So we are.
And I was born in Detroit for all these Detroit people. Hello.
Yeah. And we are going to, for everybody who is not on the panel, if you would go ahead and mute, we're going to, we've got 30 minutes here to have a pretty robust conversation, really important conversation. So I want to welcome you. Our discussion today is focused on retaining and accelerating women in technology to higher levels. So we're really talking about advancement and promotion and people feeling like their career is thriving. My name is Melissa Peak. I'm the Global Workforce Strategy Lead for Public Sector Professional Services at Amazon Web Services and a board member of the Women's Business Collaborative. And I am really honored to be joined by two stars in technology. Magna Hadley is the Vice President and Global Head of Healthcare of the Healthcare Domain Practice at Tata Consultancy Services. I know we have a lot of Tata Consultancy representatives with us for the conference. And Melanie Frank is the Managing Vice President of Technology and Cyber at Capital One. So welcome, ladies. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yep. Thanks.
So let's start off with some data to ground us. And I think this data is really interesting as some foundational, from a foundation perspective. So NCWIT reports that 25% of professionals who hold computing occupations are women. that is a representation rate that's actually been declining since its high of 36% in 1991. And while women in technology fields report loving their work, 56% leave their organization between the 10 and 20-year mark. So they leave their technology firms at that phase. And female attrition in technology fields is higher than both science and engineering, and double the attrition rate of men in technology. For the women leaving the technology sector, there's a difference. There's no notable difference between these women and women who stay related to education, their family situation, or race and ethnicity. So this debunks the myth that these women are leaving because they have childcare responsibilities. They're leaving because of a ethnic preference or of a role responsibility. There's no difference in the women who stay and the women who leave in that education, family situation, or race and ethnicity. The factors that are cited are: 1, work experience. So that includes low opportunity for training, lack of manager support, and difficulty in managing their work and other priorities. And finally, they cite undermining behavior from the leaders around them, so microaggressions. So that is factor 1. Factor 2 is a lack of access to creative technical roles. An interesting point here is that only 2% of patent owners are women, with only 10% coming from mixed gender teams. So the ability for technologists to be in creative roles where they're innovating and creating new ideas, new products, and generating patents is low. And finally, 1 in 3 women in technology report feeling stalled in their careers, and they plan to quit their job in the coming year. So this was based on an NC WIT study that was done in 2018. For African American women, the stall rate is 48%. So for women in general, it's about a third. For African American women, that 48% report feeling stalled. And that includes not seeing a vision for the future. So the definition of stalled: I don't see a vision for the future, and I don't think it's likely that I'm going to advance into leadership positions. And part of this is validated by the fact that 7% of CIOs are women, and so there's not a lot of role models in that CIO position. And I juxtapose this against the tens of thousands of positions that I know Amazon is trying to fill for technologists. So we've got a lot of work to do here, because we've got a need that's increasing, but we also have women who are in the roles sharing that there's a lot of problems and they're not feeling like they're thriving. And so, Melanie, I want to come to you and I want to hear, what do you think as you hear this data? Do you think these are the factors that are a barrier to women accelerating in technology, or are there other things that you're observing that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for starting us off on such a happy note, Melissa. It's hard not to be concerned about that, right? It's sobering, it's concerning, it's most certainly a problem. I think that the task before us is to understand and unpack why that is and what's going on, and there's a lot all wrapped up in that. So I think for me, I'll focus in on 2 things to start. The first was the data point on, I'll say, the larger issue on representation of females sitting at 25%. The tech industry and software engineering in particular is not diverse, with women and then Blacks and Hispanics being horrifically underrepresented. And I think we have to figure out, why is that and how do we change that? So I'll come back to how do we retain the great women that we do have in a second. But for now, I want to talk about and think and really hopefully inspire other people to think about how do we unite to attack that pipeline. To address that, I see a lot of companies, I think TCS, Capital One, many others, focusing on how we attract more diverse talent to technology, engineering, and STEM fields in general. There's fantastic organizations that are helping people switch careers, get back into technology if they they maybe did make the choice to leave and would like to come back now that their circumstances have changed. And at the pace that technology moves and changes, jumping on or back on that speeding train it's a daunting task. It's hard enough if you're on the train to keep up with it. Some days it seems. So at Capital One, this is part of the thing that's hugely motivating for me as an individual. We believe in always striving to make Capital One better, but we know that we can and must be a part of something bigger because we've got an industry problem here, and I think that's pretty well known. So we have to help really change the industry and the world. So this is why I also encourage some of the things that we do, like partnering with organizations like Women Who Code, Rewriting the Code, Black Wings, Lesbians Who Tech, NC Wit, who you referenced and have pulled the data from, AnitaB.org. There's so many fabulous organizations. In addition, we do things like talking about the pipeline and where does interest start to die off in that leaky pipe. For women and girls in particular, it's in middle school. And so we've got a program called Coders where we partner with public schools, other youth-serving nonprofits, and we help students cultivate a greater interest in computer science during that critical period in their development, just trying to go back and see how we can start to make a dent in those really stark figures. And so now real quickly back to that phenomenon of the frozen middle. I think, pressures on women, and you talked about some of the examples cited, can create a stall or an outright exit, be that short term or long term. I think for folks, it's, make no mistake, the pressure and load on the women and your teams is disproportionate. And I think that we've got to recognize and embrace that and realize that. It's not to say that there aren't stressors for everyone. It is disproportionate. And if you are a woman of color, amp that up even higher. So I'll highlight two pieces of the way I think that shows up. First, the pressure and load is disproportionate in overall work-life balance. So we're talking at work and at home. In my own experience, we know folks that leave, aren't always those, working mothers, but working mothers definitely have a lot of load to carry. I've got 3 kids. I've been at Capital One for 21 years. So while I've been here, I've gotten married, had 3 kids, gotten divorced, gotten remarried. Like a lot of life changes have happened during that time period. And still consistently, I can say the load on me versus on my husband or my ex-husband, both at home and at work, is nowhere near the same. There are times where I have to choose. And as I have conversations with people that I work with, a lot of times it's choosing whether you hover and hang on and some days survive, and some people are surviving by, hiding in their closet or their bathroom just to try to get a sense of alone time or to have that cry out. And or merely making the tough choice, which is I can't do that, I have to leave. And I don't want people to have to be in that situation. And then second, at work, this was a huge aha for me over the course of the last couple of years. And I know Melissa, we talked about before about Dr. Claude Steele's book, Whistling Vivaldi, and my introduction to this notion of stereotype threat. But I think it really captures the cumulative effect over time of being the only. It is hard to look around and not see or feel that you belong or know that you're different. And showing up every day, trying to work hard, prove either to someone else or to yourself that you're qualified, that you're not overly emotional, that doing everything you can to affirm that you belong is exhausting. And when I think of that after 10 to 20 years of that, no wonder, right? People are like, I'm done. Especially if I don't see that path forward and I don't see people above me that look like me. So I think about it and I think, imagine, not just having to get your work done, but doing those mental gymnastics every day, every meeting, every interaction. It's exhausting. So I think this is where strong supportive networks, good inclusive behaviors come in. And I think we'll get into that more in the future part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Why am I
And I
confused?
actually
But
bought
I'll
that
pass
book.
over to you.
Yeah. Well, and I bought Whistling Vivaldi and am 3/4 of the way through it. And it is so true. I think we don't even realize sometimes the effort that the constant evaluating of our scenario. And it really is the opposite of being in flow and really operating in flow. And I think that we will know that we are successful when people can operate in flow, when they're at work and they're able to just complete their work, use their strengths without that constant assessment and evaluation of how people are perceiving them. If they're coming across as too aggressive, or, I mean, I think we all have we have a different mental flow that oftentimes holds us back, and just doesn't serve us. So we are learning how to set that to the side. And Whistling Vivaldi talks to some very specific examples. So Magna, I want to come to you because I know Tata Consultancy has been working in this space intentionally and doing a lot, not only to support your the internal women, but also to support people through your social responsibility work. And so I want to ask you, what are 3 things you've identified, and what are 3 things that you're doing to create that environment where women feel like they can leverage their strengths and where they remain and grow?
Right. Thanks, Melissa and Melanie. While you called out TCS and Tata and the work we're doing, I have to say, kudos to all organizations that's put that at the top of their agenda, right? And I have to say it is at the top of our agenda because it's a number. And while we say we don't want to be tracking numbers, but if we don't look at those numbers, we all operate with KPIs, different SLAs and whatever. But if we don't know that we're moving that needle and how we're moving that needle, I think it's the importance of monitoring it and making sure that everyone is looking at these numbers, making every effort to achieve them, and also that whatever we put in place is sustainable, right? And a lot came through with COVID, right? So 3 things you're questioning me on what TCS is doing. One of the 2, and I think the top-down Rajesh Gopinathan, who's our CEO, managing partner for it, and Chandra, who's leading our board to also embrace this too. But I think the CEO of TCS, it's top-down led, okay? And it can't be seen as just bottom-up. It's got to be top-down and embraced by all. One of the major things that are being done, who's leading this effort, is Dr. Ritu. She is leading what we call the LEAD program. And it's really, and this is where we track the numbers and monitor how we're doing as an organization and elevating more women, not just in specific, in different roles within the organization, tech roles, but in lead roles. Because I think, as Melanie noted, there's so few, and I got the feeling, Melanie, you're feeling lonely at your organization. You look around the room and there's only one female in the room or something like that too. But if we don't start looking around and seeing who's at the table and calling out those situations too, it's never going to change too. And I'm not saying, and there's a way of doing that too. People say, with all the different movements that are going on too, we need to be specific and how we approach those items. And if you're in a position to make those changes too, when hiring, right? And it's not saying looking across, it's minorities, it's women, it's the LGBTs, it's all folks, and seeing if you are able to effectuate those numbers, make that decision. If you're in that position to make those decisions, make them and be purposeful on making them too. And with the skill sets and everything, they have to have the qualifications, right? But make the decision. If you come down to 2 and a man and a woman, and they're basically even skills, whatever, and the choice, you're trying to fill it, then go for the women, go for the minority, go for the, it's the only way we're going to be, especially for women who's in those positions and the men who are in those positions. I heard some of the men speak to their agenda. They have this as part of their agenda too, but it's how you move that agenda item. So the LEAD program is one. The second is the mentorship too, because what I find too, because of how women has always felt, they feel that they probably can't aspire to those roles. I always say, do something that you love, first of all, right? So if technology is it, if you're interested, I love when I see an engineer or a woman pilot flying a plane too, right? And so if technology is your love, don't give up on it, right? Build that personal brand, build that journey on how to get there, and surround yourself with people and mentors who's going to help you get there too. So that's another key thing. So all of us, and through this LEAD program, through other programs within TCS and through my outside network too, I do a lot of mentorship too. One of the things through during COVID, right? Technology, you had to coach students, parents, women had to wear many hats during COVID, teaching their child at home. But in doing that too, become a coach too. So I was coaching students and mentoring them during that time, just getting them familiar back on using a laptop, how to interface with the school. So that mentorship program is key. The other, and I think what was mentioned about if you capture, one of the programs we have too is the Go IT program, and it's around STEM. It's how to get young girls interested in IT at an early age, right? And many of through our volunteer programs, working in the school systems, we have a very good program that we roll out in all of the areas that we operate in. And also for companies, we will even do specific programs with the company and work with you in developing Go IT programs with the school systems, with teachers, even teaching them how to change how their curriculum in school too. So there's so many programs we're developing. Yeah. And biology, I know, started out with Edie in opening up this session. I have to say, he works very tirelessly along with his team in rolling out a lot of those programs too. So there's a lot, but I think all women have to get involved too.
So men and women, right? I mean, men
and women, yes.
Women, yeah, for sure. So thank you. So let's pivot, Melanie, to talking about women who are already in the technology industry. Now, what I'd like to get from you is advice on how we create space for women in technology so that they feel like they're thriving and they actually continue to build momentum to achieve those higher levels of leadership and impact. I'd love your perspective for the next 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah. For the folks that are already here, Magna had the number one point I would make is ensure you have strong sponsorship and mentorship programs. And as an individual, make sure you have sponsors and mentors and a network of people. So I think that's critical for that support system and for feeling like you have people advocating for you. The second, we call them business resource groups. I've heard them called affinity groups, the BRGs for us, however you want to brand them. For our BRGs, and we have them at the enterprise level and at the tech level, is to help people find their people and find the place where they can relax and belong and let their guard down. For us, we formed Women in Tech in 2014. It was the first of our tech BRGs. And now we have Blacks in Tech and Hispanics in Tech and a really powerful allies organization, as you pointed out. Like we need everyone. We need everyone solving the problem to make us more diverse, because we know more diverse teams are stronger and ultimately better from a productivity in the products and the services they provide. I'm lucky at this point in my career to lead Women in Tech as our accountable executive. We've got 9 chapters globally. We hold an annual internal conference that draws internally 3,000 attendees each year. It fosters that sense of belonging. why we also support conference attendance like this one and Grace Hopper Women in Computing, right? Like people need a place where they can go and be like, oh, okay, like after even in some of the chats, oh, I feel that way too. Oh, this is great. I feel normal. Like this is great, and I can get help and support from people who relate. Magna also mentioned third, knowing the data. Like we don't want to just have the data points, but you do get what you measure. It's challenging, and we actually had to make a actually pretty hard push on ourselves as to where and how did we want to share that data, externally, internally. How do we utilize that data? And it helped us start to attack things more surgically and say, like, no, we're going to highlight, like, we're going to focus on our Director Plus recruiting. So if we have more female leaders, then we will have more females in our teams, and and it will just have this huge kind of ripple effect kind of out within the organization. And lastly, I'd say I do think like this is good for all human beings and companies in general, is just really truly value as a company in your culture work-life balance. That is not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. So I can go on and on about how our culture embodies this. One of the things I'm super excited about, and I think we need more things like this, is we've announced in the last couple of weeks a pilot for a part-time associates program. We always had part-time associates, but we have not historically offered part-time native positions, like agile teams that are part-time agile teams, built and meant to be part-time agile teams. And I think this is the type of, I think as an industry, we're in this, the definition of insanity is repeating the same behavior and expecting a different result. Like we've got to start to shake some things up and do some things differently. And so I'm excited to see, like, we know we have a lot to learn to make that successful and have part-timers who aren't just hovering there in the middle, like we talked about earlier, but actually progressing in their careers and feeling successful and supported and not just accommodated. So I'm super excited, and I hope to see more things like that to really help address, how to help people thrive versus just survive.
Those structural changes, what's interesting to me is they sound easy, but they take an incredible amount of leadership fortitude to push through. Here's how we've always done it. Here's how contracts work. Here's how our systems are set up. Here's how our job families are set up. And I think that though that's where the courageous leadership is needed. Having the idea is wonderful. Having the leadership backbone to push through the structural barriers to implementing the idea really is where things move from a good idea to impact. So thank you for those examples. So we've got with us in the conference, we've got people who represent multiple perspectives. So we've certainly got representatives of companies here looking at how they can create an environment for their women to thrive. And we also have individuals who are looking to figure out, how can I best position myself? What decisions should I be making so that I'm accelerating, I'm advancing in my career? And so, Magna, I'd love to come to you. If you could share, what's one piece of advice you have for companies who are intentionally building an environment where women choose to stay and grow? And then also, what's a piece of personal advice that you would have to the women on the call who are looking for guidance? And then Melanie, will come to you with that same question.
Right. For companies who are listening or companies who want to get involved, I think commitment to that change, commitment to change. In the last year alone, we lost in the US alone, 2 million women leaving the workforce, right? I think it's important to understand organizations, to understand the reasons why. How can they have supported them? And what could they have been doing differently? What challenges that the women are feeling, and how can the companies help in overcoming those challenges and champion those stories, right? Because the more you get the stories out, the more programs could be developed in support of that too. The other thing is creating that structure that can scale, right? Within an organization, no one person could do it. It's a whole structure. The organization as a whole have to achieve it as a goal together. So that goal has to be filtered down in all parts of the organization. And it's importantly that senior leaders turn their experience into insights and share it with the organization too. So it's not just the women leaders, because, you know, most of the men have wives, daughters, whatever, who's going to enter the workforce. So how can they help? How are they guiding their kids at home too, right? How are the men, you know, their children, their kids who are female too? You don't want to, you want to encourage them to take on positions, take on roles, right, that they've never even aspired to or even look into it, right?
Mhm.
And for the women, I think mostly what women need to do is don't feel intimidated, right? You know, we usually, all the speakers yesterday spoke about, you know, we are so precise on a job description, right? If we don't fit the 10 skills, we don't go there, right? Men go there even if they're half with one, right? Go, don't be intimidated. And to me, it's experience. You're going for interviewing. You're learning what you may not have. You're learning how you need to put your road map together, what skill sets you need to go. So don't feel intimidated. Be confident in what you're doing. But most of all, love what you're doing too. Because I think if you don't love the position you're going for or different things, you're not going to do well. And also you're pretty much burned out. And this is what leads to one of those statistics. You leave too. But love, if you have that passion, go for it, and surround yourself with people who could help you and could help elevate you, mentor you in those roles. So those are really some of the advice I would say. And I love working with young girls who are aspiring to do different things, even in my WOW network for Women United too. So, and teaching and coaching them, you know, and I love when they say, you know, I never thought I could do this, but now I'm going for it.
Yeah,
To me, that's a great,
that's confidence building in and of itself, right? And then they're going to enjoy their role more. So Melanie, let me hand it over to you here. I've got just a few minutes left.
Yeah, I'll keep it short, hopefully. The to companies, I think was the first part of the question. I'd say if you're a leader in a company, if you're on a team in a company, remember the last time you walked into a room and felt uncomfortable because you felt different, out of place, or like you didn't belong. And if you understand what it feels like to be the only, then address that in your culture and in your teams. Make sure you've got sponsorship and mentorship programs, and tactically ensure that your women and your people of color are getting actionable coaching and feedback. Studies show that they're not getting the same quality of feedback as their white male counterparts. And then to all of the women and individuals out there, I'd say, Magna's advice was awesome. It's like +1 to all of that. I would say stay curious. The pace of technology innovation is staggering. It's one of the things that I love. I have this odd conflict of I love learning, and I really, really hate not knowing. And so I think that fuels the learning piece. And it's you hopefully, if you don't love to learn, then that might be impactful in a lot of different careers, but certainly in technology, it's going to be. So just keep that love of learning and curiosity and wanting to understand how things work, and lift each other up. Look for opportunities for each other, say each other's names, recognize who's not in the room and who should be in the room. Like, you know, we've got to continue to do that for each other.
And that's actually lifting each other up. I'll tell you finish out the personal story. So I know we all have mentors and sponsors in our lives, as well as we are mentors and sponsors to other people. And my mentors and sponsors are both women and men. And one of the things that I ask of my male mentors is, could you please pay attention to conversations where I'm not yet there, but I should be? And would you be willing to speak up? And so I think that that's something that we, as we are rising, as we're breaking through barriers, part of our responsibility is to be very specific in the ask and the ways that male allies around us can drive change and drive impact, because they're not going to know. They don't know unless we ask. And so it takes courage to say, listen, this is something I'm focused on. Could you please pay attention to this with me and help me break through this barrier? And I've personally found that when you get specific that way, people are tremendously willing to partner and to be part of the change. So I'll tell you, I believe the future is bright for women in technology. There's an amazing opportunity for choice. I think choice is the ultimate luxury. And for women in technology, they have a lot of choices on how they want to work, when they want to work, the type of problems they want to be solving. And so a combination of companies making great decisions and individuals understanding how to advocate for themselves, that's the path that I see to us seeing this 25% representation take a change in direction and start to click its way back up. So Magna and Melanie, thank you so much for joining me for this breakout session. Thank you for the advocacy you've demonstrated as well in supporting the women in your organizations.
Thank you very much. And go get them, all who may be listening.
That's right. All right. And with that, we'll send you back over to your next breakout session.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Have a good afternoon.